What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is The Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 7. Sing me a song. That was a very intense and kind of emotional moment. So, yeah, let's talk about this episode, because frankly, after last week's episode, a lot of people were disappointed. I was back and forth, the Stormtrooper aim was really stupid, but the rest of it just felt like introduction of character to me. And I guess because I watched so many other shows, I'm used to seeing stuff like this, so it didn't bother me as much. But I guess the true Walking Dead fans, which honestly, if you're going to complain about the show this much, I don't know if you can call yourself a fan of it, but anyway, they didn't like last week's episode. So I guess the writers had this in mind. They knew last week was going to be kind of a different episode that people weren't going to really get into, so they threw in this week's episode, which was just it was really full of emotion and intensity. And there were certain moments that stuck out to me, just really, really hit home in certain instances. And I think, obviously the biggest part of this is Negan trying to get under Carl's skin, trying to get to him, because he sees something in Carl that he hasn't seen in anybody else. With like he was telling Carl whenever Carl asked, "Why haven't you killed me yet?" He's saying, with Daryl, I want to make him my soldier. And so you can see he saw in Daryl a fight and a desire to live that he's going to try to use to get Daryl under his command. With Rick he sees has a lot of potential as a leader. He sees that Rick commands a good group of people that can work for him and provide for him. But with Carl, he doesn't really have a handle on him. I mean, I truly believe when he shows up in the van and shoots those two people, I truly believe him when he said, "You scare the hell out of me." I think Carl really does scare him because he's kind of an unknown factor. He doesn't know what to expect Carl to do. One moment it seems like, "Oh, I've got him," and in the next moment, Carl all of a sudden is standing up to him again and saying, "You need to jump out the window." And so he's trying to figure it out, and honestly, I feel like we're still trying to figure out Carl as well. Because there are moments where it's almost like you can see them mirroring each other. Like you have one moment where Negan's telling Carl, "Take off the patch, show me your eye." And so Carl takes it off, and he starts crying because Negan's just like, "Man, that thing is hideous," and just, completely bashing him. Carl starts crying, all of a sudden Negan's just like, "Oh man, sorry, I just forgot you were still a kid." And, it seems completely genuine in his apology. He's like, "Look, never be ashamed of that. It makes you look badass. It may not be a hit with the ladies, but it makes you look cool." I'm just like, what is this? This is a completely different person than I've been seeing. And it's not even like it feels like he's being sarcastic, or it feels like he's, doing this to kind of get to him. Like, there's a moment later on in the episode where he's talking to Olivia, and you can clearly see, like, he makes Olivia cry because he calls her fat. And so he turns to Carl and goes, just mouths "really," because she's like, "That's all it takes?" Like, seriously? And so he goes back to her and acts like he's all genuine, like, "Look, I'm sorry if I got off on the wrong foot. I just wanted to screw your brains out." And all of a sudden, it's back to his usual self, and that's when he gets the slap. But with Carl, he never made that sudden change. He never went from, oh, he's being nice to him, he's trying to kind of build him up, to cutting him down again. He stayed in that mood. He stayed in that supportive mood. And so you kind of wonder, is he purposefully doing this to get to Carl, or is this really a side of him that certain people can bring out? Certain people like Carl can bring out. Because Carl, we see the same thing. One moment he's sitting there crying, and looks all scared because Negan's made him take off the patch, and now he's showing him his eye. And it's just like showing him a deeper part of him that he didn't see before. And that is emotional. And then the next second, he's telling him to go jump out the window because it would make it easier on both of them. So you really can't get a handle on either of them, and whether they're being serious or they're just playing along to make it seem one way when it's actually something else. it's a nice little mystery that they've got going here, and I'm pretty sure it's going to carry on into the last episode of this first half of the season. So, really good little story going on there. And on top of that, we've got some interesting side stories building up as well, because it would be easy to just have this whole episode be about Carl and Negan, because that's enough to hold an episode on its own. But you have little side stories thrown in because this is a big overall story. It's not just about Negan and Rick and Carl. It's about Daryl. It's about Dwight and Sherry. It's about Michonne and what she's going through. It's about what Rick and Aaron are trying to do right now, trying to find more supplies to bring back to Negan. And, even Rosita and Eugene get a pretty interesting story. So I love the fact that they managed to condense it all into one episode and make it feel not rushed. Most of the time when you watch a show that has this many stories going on all around, obviously they all connect together into one giant story. But most of the time, shows don't do a good job of, okay, we've got this side story, this side story, this side story, this side story. This is the main point of the show for this episode. Most of the time when shows try to do that, it gets cluttered. Not enough focus is here, and then too much focus is here that doesn't need to be. What they do here is very well done. You've got two or three scenes with Rosita and Eugene. You've got two scenes pretty much with Father Gabriel and Spencer, which the scene where they're in the car, holy crap, Father Gabriel has actually won me over. He already started to be a better person, in the past couple seasons. Like, he started to realize, I need to stand up and fight too. I can't just be pushed around. I can't just be this whimpering little sniveling person. I have to stand up too. I have to stand up and fight. So when he's talking to Spencer in the car, and Spencer's just like, just thinking something bad make it a sin. And he starts telling him everything he's thinking about Rick. He's like, no, it's not a sin. But it does make you a disgusting little shit. Just brilliant line. Absolutely brilliant line, flawless delivery, and then says, stop the car, I'm walking home, and takes off. So, I love it. Spencer is becoming a bit annoying, and I think we are starting to see that he is, first of all, he doesn't really trust Rick, and even though, every time he sees Rosita, he's like, it's what Rick wants us to do, you can see it's very sarcastic. Like, he clearly wants to take over for Rick, even though he has no clue what he's doing. So I feel like he is probably going to bite the bullet, maybe in the next episode. If not, then I feel like sometime in the second half of this season we are going to see him die, because you can see this little... It's just this little bit of power that he's trying to take away from Rick. You can see he's not ready for it, and Rick's definitely not going to let that happen. And even if, Rick doesn't see it coming, Negan doesn't want anybody else but Rick in power right now, because he has control of Rick. He's broken Rick down and gotten control of him to where Rick won't fight back. So somebody else tries to step up to Rick and take his spot. First of all, he's going to try to see if Rick has the balls to take that person down, and do what it takes to. If Spencer does step up to the plate and try to take over for Rick, Negan's philosophy would be, look, Rick, this guy tried to show you up. You need to put him in his place and possibly kill him. So that'll be interesting to see if that's where they're going here. Probably not, but we'll see. But yeah, Spencer's character is clearly heading further and further away from where he needs to be going, which I feel like is slowly kicking him out of the door of the show. So we'll see where that's going. But Rosita and Eugene, also a little interesting story. We see Rosita is trying to get Eugene to make a bullet for her. Eugene doesn't want to, but then she kind of does her usual Rosita Eugene moment where she just starts telling him off, starts calling him out, starts calling him a wimp, starts, just really breaking him down emotionally to the point where he finally does it and doesn't really say anything, though. He does have a little bit of a moment, though, where he kind of talks back to her, but then doesn't let her respond. So you can see, I kind of feel bad for Eugene, because, first of all, he's one of the funnier characters. I mean, the way he says certain things is so freaking hysterical. I mean, to say one thing, it takes so much longer for him to say that one thing. Like, if I need to say, I need to go to the bathroom, Eugene would say, I need to acquaint myself with the facilities outside and relieve myself of this pressure building inside of me. He would just make it so much longer, so much more complicated, and it's really funny the way he delivers it. But on top of that, you can also see that he's not somebody who's going to stand up for himself. And that's where I feel bad for him, because you can see Rosita is just a jerk to him in this episode because she wants this to be done for her. She wants him to do this for her, and she's not going to take no for an answer. Eugene doesn't have, I don't think, the social ability to kind of talk back and say what he wants to say in that moment. It takes him some time to really think about what is the proper response to that. And so it takes all the way until they get back to Alexandria. Then he delivers the comeback that he wanted to say then, but he didn't know how to say it. And now he did. He said it and didn't give her the chance to respond. So I do feel bad for him. I worry that this little relationship is going to turn bad for Eugene, because you can see he still wants to protect people. He still wants to help out. He just doesn't want to do it in a way that might risk the lives of others. And that's why he's so willing to help Negan, because he sees what they've done. He sees that they managed to kill Abraham, and he didn't think that was possible. So you can see he's kind of broken down. He kind of wants to just do what needs to be done to survive, and that's it. He doesn't want to try to fight back. He doesn't want to try to get revenge. That's not his style. Rosita, on the other hand, I feel like she might be on her way out of the show as well, because we see she, just like Spencer, doesn't agree with Rick. The difference is Spencer doesn't trust Rick. Rosita does, but she doesn't agree. Kind of like Michonne, except she doesn't have the same mutual respect that Rick and Michonne have. They're a lot closer. Rosita just wants to get revenge for Abraham. That's all that's on her mind, and I feel like it's going to cost her maybe in the next couple episodes. So, yeah, who knows where that one's going, but she has a bullet now. Negan is back in Alexandria whenever they show up, so I feel like that's going to go somewhere in the mid-season finale, but we'll see. The other couple side stories, Michonne building like a little speed bump of walkers in the road to stop a truck from one of the saviors. She manages to get the savior at gunpoint and force her to drive her back to see Negan. So the fact that he's not at Sanctuary, he's at Alexandria, I'm a little bit worried about that. The fact that she's just going to show up. I don't even know what her plan is, to be honest. Just with Carl, it at least felt like he had somewhat of a plan. Because he's in a truck full of guns. At least the thought is, okay, he's going to take these guns and he's going to shoot them up. With Michonne, it feels like you're just walking into a terrible situation with nothing but a gun to the side of the head of one of the women in a group that really is expendable to Negan. So I don't know what her plan is. I don't know if she's maybe planning to just talk to Negan and try to work something out, or if she just plans to go in there and kill him and see if that'll work. I don't know, but yeah, I feel like it's going to go wrong for her because she's going to show up and there's not going to be a Negan at Sanctuary. And then the other side story is Jesus and what he's doing. Because we see, starting off the episode, we see he and Carl are in the back of the supply truck. He sees that they're getting close to Sanctuary, so he's like, follow me out. Carl's like, okay, you go first, I'll follow you behind. He does a little dodge roll out of the truck and goes to hide. And Carl's just like, see you later. And so you can see he respects Carl. He respects the fact that Carl is more than just a kid. He clearly knows what he's doing, and yet at the same time, he still has a mission. He still is trying to do something, clearly. And ultimately, I believe he does. First, we see him sneaking on top of one of the trucks when Carl and Negan are leaving, and I kind of wondered, what's going on? What is he doing? And then as they're driving away, he's not on top of the truck anymore. And then all of a sudden, near the end of the episode, Daryl's sitting in his room, he hears some noises, and all of a sudden, a little note gets slid up under with a key and a match and says, go now. So I'm thinking Jesus probably went in, knocked out a few guys, and then opened up a pathway for Daryl to escape. Which, of course, won't bode well for Negan, so I'm a little bit worried that maybe this will create some backlash on Rick and his group because Daryl escapes. But, it's cool. I kind of wish we could see Jesus in action because he's pretty much a badass character. Like, he kung fu kicked some walkers a couple episodes ago. What's not to like? He's an awesome character. And on top of that, his name is Jesus. That just completes the awesomeness. But yeah, I'm interested to see where that story's going. If he's going to help Daryl escape, maybe Michonne will show up with the truck, and that'll give them an escape route out of there. But yeah, I'm hoping we get to see him in action and not just, oh, all of a sudden all the guards are knocked out. We don't get to see any of it. We just get to see Daryl escaping. So that's all the side stories. On to the main story, because there were a few key points to hit in this. First off, we see Carl rolls up in there, shoots a couple guys, and Negan takes him to, takes him to pretty much talk to him. And you can see right away that Negan does have respect for Carl. He sees the fight in him. He sees that he's not just going down without a fight. He wants to fight back. And I think if he sees that in a person, he doesn't want to just kill them. He wants to break them down first. He wants them to either work for him or he wants them to fear him. And so we're starting to see that a bit more. So of course we see him showing Carl, look at my power. Look what I'm able to do. And you kind of started to wonder maybe he's building like a kind of a relationship with him so he can turn him to his side and have him work for him. But as the episode goes on, you start to see that it's more than that. He's really trying to figure out Carl. He's trying to figure out what gets to him. And so we have a few really interesting scenes. We have a scene with another little side story which kind of ties in, where we see he's talking to Sherry, and apparently he knows one of the girls was that he's supposed to be sleeping with. It started sleeping with another guy. And so he's trying to get information out of Sherry. She pretty much gives it up, but not really. And of course Dwight talks to her later about that, and she doesn't see any fault in what she's done. But clearly she is at fault here. So we have that little side story going on, and ultimately it just serves to add a bit more fuel to the fire for people like Sherry and Dwight, who I think are going to be a cause for revolution over Negan. And on top of that, it gives some more scenes for Negan to just be really scary and show Carl, look at all the power I have. But one of the best scenes is just the scene where it's just Carl and Negan sitting in his room, and Negan's just talking to him. And like I said, there was that moment where Carl starts crying, and all of a sudden he's just talking to him like a normal person. Like, man, I forgot you're a kid, and this can be really... Which we saw him talk like that before. In the first episode, we saw that moment where he kills Abraham, and everybody's just like really broken up. Like Daryl's just punched him. He's talking about retribution needs to happen, and everybody's just like sitting there like crying. She's like, oh man, it's supposed to be really hard for all of you. And he seemed kind of genuine, and then he goes and kills Glenn. So you kind of figured, okay, so this is just him taunting them. But this scene, it doesn't end with him taunting Carl at the end. Like, even whenever he's talking about his eye again, he calls it disgusting, but then calls it a rad-ass, badass eye socket. Just using words like that makes me think he truly does respect Carl. And so it's really, like I said, it's hard to get a handle on him and what he's trying to do here. But ultimately, we see one moment where he's asking Carl, sing for me. And so Carl starts singing a song that Lori sang to him, while Negan is off to the side swinging Lucille. And I think I understand that in his mind, he's breaking down Carl. This is the retribution that he's seeing. Carl singing for him is not, singing is your payment. It's the fact that he says sing, Carl sang. That's what he wants to see. And him swinging the bat twice is almost like, you killed two of my men, here's your retribution. I'm swinging the air, but I'm making you sing for me. And I like that little, it was almost like symbolism. They didn't have to explain it. Maybe you guys didn't see the same thing. Maybe you saw something completely different. That's what I think. That's what I think he was trying to do there. I think he was seeing Carl sing for him, as just his payment, because he is doing exactly what he asked, even if he doesn't really like it. So then we have several other scenes just between Carl and Negan, between Negan and some of his followers. And ultimately it leads to he asks Carl to take him back to Alexandria. And so that's where they go. He asks Carl for a tour after talking to Olivia, which that scene was freaking hysterical. Part of the problem with all of this is I know because this show doesn't like to really be too dark. They have moments, obviously, we've lost some main characters recently. But the show's never gone completely dark where it looks like the bad guy just is unstoppable. It looks like the bad guy can't be hurt. It looks like they're never going to win. I feel like at some point Negan is probably going to die. And I'm actually kind of saddened by that because honestly, watching him work throughout this entire episode, he's so funny. I mean, the scene with Olivia was just one example. It's just, you're practically starving? You. I mean, even when she starts crying, like I said, he turns to Carl, like, it was so funny. He's such an expressive character. And even like, she slaps him after he says, I want to screw your brains out. And it's just like, oh, you just got 50% more attractive. It's funny. And so ultimately he has Olivia go do more of his work while he has Carl show him around. And of course we get to the big moment where he's about to walk into a room. You know exactly what's in that room because Carl's like, oh, it's just a water heater. He walks in and sure enough, there's Judith. Yep, this is going to end badly. And honestly, it's kind of funny because all of this build up and there are certain moments where you feel like the music is clearly trying to tell you this is building up to something and then just cuts off for a commercial break. So you kind of see that they're trying to make you feel that intensity with the music, with the camera angle. It shows him holding Judith and you can't see Carl at all. And so I'm just waiting for that bat to come swinging at the back of his head and just hit him. I'm just waiting for that because you don't see Carl, you don't see where Lucille is. I was just waiting for something like that to happen because the music kept building and building and building, and then it just cut off. And now I'm waiting for next week to see what's going to happen with the mid-season finale. But like I said, overall, a very intense and emotional episode. We get to see a lot more of Carl. We get to see a lot more of Negan as well. And, you have all these little side missions going on. Like, Rick and Aaron is one I haven't talked about because frankly, I think it's more important in the next episode because they found like this little, apparently it's a boat that will have a lot of supplies on it. I feel like that's going to be more important in the next episode. So nothing really happens. They just climb over a fence. Apparently somebody used to live here and he would have shot them if he was still alive. But, it's just building up for the final episode. All of this stuff really is building up for the final episode. Daryl's escape, Dwight and Sherry, and their talks of, how things are going at Sanctuary. You've got Michonne taking one of the saviors. You've got Rosita having Eugene make her a bullet while Spencer is trying to overthrow Rick because he thinks he isn't fit to lead. So yeah, all of it is just sort of building up, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where all of these stories are going to go because frankly, it's been good build-up. Obviously the episode with Tara may not come into fruition just yet. I feel like all the stuff that she learned there, the people of Oceanside, I feel like they're going to become more important down the road. So for right now, they may just kind of be, that episode was just a throwaway so we could introduce them. But, I mean, the rest of these episodes have been building up to this moment where we have all the characters coming together again in Alexandria. We have some of these characters are ready to kill Negan. Carl, I'm pretty sure, is ready to kill Negan, even if it means it'll cost him his life. He's ready to take him down. We have some of the saviors who feel like they can do whatever they want, and Negan just constantly reminding them, you're not allowed. Let me burn the side of your face with this iron. So, yeah, all of it's really well done. The acting was great in this one as well. And I don't know what else to say. I mean, the mid-season finale is obviously what this has all been building up to. Will anybody die? I don't know. I feel like somebody will. It may not be, Obviously, there's a lot of talk that Carl's probably going to die because Chandler Riggs is going to college. So there's a lot of talk that he's going to end up dying, so he won't be a part of the show. I feel like I would be very disappointed just because of how much story they've been building up for Carl. You know, everything with Enid, all the storylines of him kind of becoming a little bit of a serial killer. I mean, just all of it has been really good build up. However, I can see one road that if they decide to take it this way, it would be okay. You know, I'd be okay with it. It is the fact that, you know, Rick is so broken down, he doesn't really want to fight back. This could give him a reason to fight back. If Negan kills his son, that would give him enough motivation to say, okay, now you've crossed the line, I'm going to have to kill you now. So I guess that could be one place that they would go with it that I would be okay with it. But honestly, I don't want to see Carl go. If they could find some way to work around it to where, like, I don't know, maybe Negan hits him once over the head and that's enough to knock him into a coma, so he's out of commission for a little while. I mean, they could work that, I'm sure. Just don't kill him off, please. That would be dumb. All of these, it would be kind of like how I felt with Glenn, you know, and all of the storylines they've been building up for him, and all of a sudden he dies by a dumpster, by a bunch of walkers attacking him. It didn't feel right. And of course, ultimately he didn't die there. But it would feel the same way here with Carl. You know, it just feels like they've been building up so much for him to kill him now just because your actor wants to go to college. It wouldn't feel right for the show. It wouldn't feel right for the stories they've been building. However, I do feel like Rosita and Spencer may be on the chopping block next week. We'll see. Who knows? But I'm looking forward to it. Going to be very exciting and intense. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did you like and dislike about this episode? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Walking Dead reviews. I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.